Hello everyone, this is Ronnie, and I want to make a video about what's happening at the moment, the coronavirus situation, and uh, we're running the UK Fruit Fest, and that's due to go ahead at the end of July. And a lot of people are saying to me, "Oh well, that might not happen, or you'll have to cancel, or you know, we're going to be locked down till then." The first thing is we're not going to be locked down for very much longer, as far as I can see. Um, we've already realised, I think most people have realised that this thing has been a big mistake by the authorities, by the government, by the people that were put in charge of making the decisions, coming up with the numbers, um, protecting us and all that kind of stuff. An enormous cock up, a huge mistake. Um, of unbelievable proportions, where scientific models and analysis were done to check how bad and how severe this coronavirus was, potentially based on information that wasn't correct because it was coming from places like China, and who the hell knows if any information they give to the world is accurate. They're a totalitarian state. Um, China, if you go and look at the coronavirus cases graphs, China's one is completely different to every other country. Completely different, where it goes from 1,000 cases in one day to 20,000 cases in a day, then right back down to 1,000 cases in a day. Now, is that possible compared to every other country? That seems very unusual. Anyway, um, maybe the lockdown was stricter there, who knows. Anyway, uh, an Imperial College of London research paper influenced a lot of government action and suggested that 2 million people could die in the US. I think a quarter of a million people or somewhere near that could die in the UK of coronavirus, and that lockdown should be put in place, and social distancing and all this stuff. The guy who actually wrote that, what's his name? Neil Ferguson. Firstly, apparently he came out and changed his numbers and said actually it's not that bad. Um, Also, he was found to be basically, he had to resign because he himself broke the lockdown rules that he had a part in creating. Same thing in Scotland, where the health advisor of Scotland went away to her summer home during the coronavirus, when she herself was telling people no unnecessary travel. Okay, so, and it's unbelievable the arrogance of people to do that. But regardless, they made the mistake. They're human, right? The coronavirus, it would seem, I was taking it very seriously at first, and I really assumed, I prefer to assume that the scientists and those people have got it right. I prefer to assume that at first. Now, you might think, you as a raw vegan, why would you assume that at first when you know how poor a lot of public health information is, particularly on diet and nutrition? Yes, you're right, and I know that, but um, if you go in assuming that people are just wrong, especially people who have got access to the information, have the training, have got other colleagues looking at it, you've got to assume that they're making the right decision. Now, it's not that they necessarily made the wrong decision, but maybe the information was wrong, maybe they didn't have access, maybe they had to err on the side of extreme caution because this looked different or worse than a lot of other flus and things that have come across in the last few years. For me, looking at this, I mean, I thought it was going to be, you know, that this was just going to go out of control. It was going to be a tremendous amount of deaths. I mean, if you're talking about 3% of people getting it, dying, which is what they were considering the numbers were, that's massive. And that goes beyond, oh, it's just taking out the really super unhealthy people. That goes into like it's killing people that are, you know, as averagely unhealthy. Most people are unhealthy, of course, and terribly unhealthy. Um, but but they can put up with the flu just about they can put up with the flu. So most people can just about put up with a flu. They might have to take like 2 or 3 weeks off work, but they can deal with it. But the people that can't obviously pass away. Now, we have to put that into the context that that happens like every single year. That every year there's some kind of flu or virus that comes along, and that tens of thousands of people die. And that is, it's a sad thing individually. For each person, it's a sad thing. For some people, it might be the right time for them. It just happens to be the thing that kills them, but they're at the end of a long life and whatever. For some people, they might have been kind of living in pain and misery and not having much to live for, who knows. But we don't see death as a good thing. Most of the time we see death as a negative thing. Especially in the UK, in Europe, in the US, where death often happens far too young. People die before their time a lot because of disease, because of chronic disease, not because of coronavirus or any other virus. So the idea that it was 3%, it seems like this has turned out to be completely false. The amount of deaths compared to the amount of people that have probably got this is probably going to be far surpass the numbers that we actually think have it. There has been some studies in some places suggesting that the numbers of people that have it, that have had it, that are now immune to it, are much bigger than we think. And I think there's a little bit of a strange idea that this lockdown's really worked. Apparently, according to some, there's not really a great deal of research behind lockdowns really working and social distancing really working all that well. But one outlier in the whole situation that allows us to assess this in some way of comparison is Sweden. And Sweden didn't do the extreme lockdown that a lot of other countries did. I think they did suggest social distancing. They suggested gatherings of no more than 50 people, which is quite a lot of people, really. 50 is a lot of people. And so on. They just kind of kept going. And a lot of people have brought up the fact, well, Sweden's had a lot of deaths compared to numbers, and that's might be the case. I don't think it's even that much out of proportion. But if you look at the new cases, Sweden is now down to the same levels as other countries around that area. It's down into the hundreds of new cases per day, and in just over 100, which seems to go against the idea that Sweden would pay this terrible price for having not locked down, and that the cases would continue to escalate and rise. In reality, what we're seeing is the kind of wave that happens with a virus or a pandemic is that it goes up, reaches a peak, population reaches herd immunity, and the cases start to drop, and eventually a percentage of the population have died. Most of the population that remain have got herd immunity, and that herd immunity stops that virus again from kind of spreading that again and harming people. And that's what we're seeing, really, and that's what I think we're seeing. And the reports about the the hospitals being full and all, it just wasn't true. It's just, this has all been the media. The media has been pushing this and pushing this and pushing this. They caught people. They got enough attention. There was enough people that it caught their imagination. At the same time that the science was kind of suggesting this might be worse than we thought, and all of that came together to create this panic, this storm, leading to the governments making these drastic actions, which have been a massive, massive mistake. And and I think what we have to do, and the problem now, is that the governments and all these authorities are in a position where they now have to open back up again, and knowing full well that everyone's going to realise what a big mistake they made. And we're talking about millions of people unemployed, and businesses going bankrupt, in the airline industry falling apart, and a lot of industries changing for good because of this situation. And and at the same time, the public is going to have lost a lot of trust in government, lost a lot of trust in the healthcare, lost trust once again in experts and in science. And for me, it all comes back to complete ignorance about how to take care of ourselves, about healthcare. It is no surprise that people die of the flu because people are incredibly unhealthy. It's no surprise that people basically die from ignorance. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They go and get the wrong advice. They get bad advice. They follow bad advice. When the biggest thing that you can do for your health, the biggest thing that you can do is to eat a healthy diet. And that's it. That's the biggest thing that you can do. But you need to know what a healthy diet is. A healthy diet is a diet that's comprised of the healthy foods. And there is only two healthy foods. And that's fruits and vegetables. And that paradigm, that idea, is just so outside of people's reality that they can't even imagine that. And they can't even imagine, and they'll never experience what it is to feel healthy or be healthy or actually function normally as a human being. So they'll go through their life with this disability diet, this diet of processed foods, animal products, cooked foods that disable you, that destroy your health, that wreak havoc on your immune system, that gradually develop disease over time, degenerate your body. And who knows what it does to your hormones, your mental state, your emotional state, leading to imbalance and all these things, or a feeling of imbalance in people. So we've got that situation, and unfortunately it's like the blind leading the blind. The people that are making the rules for nutrition or putting out information or guidance, they don't seem to understand how important it is. They're addicted to the food as well, and all addicts are in denial. All addicts are in denial about the severity of how bad the thing that they consume on a regular basis is for them. And because of that denial, they want to pretend that it's not true, and they don't want to think about it, and we don't have an honest debate on this in society. And not once did the government come out and say, if you want to protect yourself during the coronavirus, you must eat fruits and vegetables, you must, people were buying toilet roll and stuff. And it's, people should have been eating fruits and vegetables, at the very least plant-based diet, and at the very least, like, how about not massive amounts of alcohol, cigarettes, and all these things that people were taking. So total ignorance out there. Now when it comes to UK Fruit Fest, which is an event we run at the end of July, I've had people say to me, well, I'm not sure if I should come to an event because it's a risk for me to be around other people. And I've heard people say, well, it's a risk for my whoever, husband, son, wife, mum, because they have X condition which is a risk for coronavirus. This is just not very smart. Just not very smart. It's ignorance once again. The healthiest week that you will have in your life will be at UK Fruit Fest. The least risk you can ever have to your health is coming to UK Fruit Fest by miles. So someone said, oh, my husband's a risk for this. And I'm like, oh really? So you're telling me they've stopped eating animal foods, they've stopped eating processed foods, they've stopped smoking, they're no longer drinking, they're no longer doing this, they're exercising now. Oh no, they've not done any of those things, but they're going to stay away from people. Like, if you have disease, the things that cause the disease are the problem. not random things, not going to an event. And I don't know, it's amazing to me. Um, a lot of people, it's a real struggle for me. I want to be honest with you about the, the Fruit Festival, because you don't start something like this. Um, you know, you kind of think it's pretty obvious, I guess, but you might be amazed at some of the conversations I've had with people. It's just fascinating. Like a parent or something, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, my daughter started to go raw, and it's like the only thing that's ever, like her disease, her illness, her terrible condition, whatever it is going away, and she's feeling better than ever, and she needs to learn more about it and meet more people." It's like, okay, great. Well, the Fruit Festival is a great place. Um, and then they'll maybe get back to me at some point and say, "Oh, I can't come to the festival. We're not going to come this year. We're going to blah blah blah." And I say, "Oh, really? What was the reason?" "Well, I don't know. We just can't afford it this time, or whatever. Or they don't want to expend the money, or whatever." And I'll say, "Well, have you ever spent that kind of money on yourselves as a family, or as a?" Because I can understand if someone doesn't have the money. The truth is, people always have the money, right? For any of you people that are in, anyone in business knows that people don't get in touch with you if you've not got the money. So it's a convenient way of saying no. It's a polite way of saying no, but it's a lie mostly, which is fine. But then she says, "Oh no," and people have said this to me, like, "Oh no, we'd just rather spend that money going to Europe or Australia or on a cruise or whatever." And that's fine. Like, I get that. Those things are fun as well. But I have to ask the tough question sometimes. So your daughter's health isn't really worth it to you. You know, I need to ask. And it's fascinating to me that people are like that. They will put entertainment or some other kind of holiday that they've been sold on, like going to some place that looks good in the brochures or whatever. They'll put that ahead of coming somewhere where their daughter can get her health together, can really learn what to do, can meet friends, and all that stuff. To me, that is life-changing and priceless. Going to some random country and going on some kind of tour is something you can do anytime. And really, there's not a lot of places that really have the answer. We have the answer. Most other health places are complete nonsense information, including a lot of the raw food places. Some of them should be shut down. You know, but that's just my opinion on that. I'll go into that more in another video. But this is where I think we're heading with the coronavirus. The governments have to start opening up. At the same time, we're going to see that this wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. But they had to protect themselves. They had to pretend that it's bad. They've had to keep this illusion going. Here in Thailand, this is unbelievable here in Thailand. Thailand is a country of 60 to 70 million people. Massive population. Well, not massive, but a fairly medium-sized country population, same size as the UK. Roughly the same as France, the UK. Now Thailand, the entire country of Thailand has like 4 cases a day. 4 new cases. That's not deaths, that's cases, like new cases identified. 4. And this country is still in lockdown, curfews, people wearing masks. You can't go into a place without a mask. It's ridiculous. For 4 cases, this is totally ridiculous. And no one's there's not really a lockdown happening. It's like everyone's still going around places. If this thing is real and it's spreading all over the place, because people are there's still markets and things, and people, it's dumb. Okay, we can't have essential things, but everyone goes to the supermarket, so it all spreads in the supermarket anyway. Like, it's just silly. Um, so it's gonna, it'll open up soon. Just have a look at some of the statistics and the numbers. Yeah, we're still seeing a lot of cases in the UK, in the US. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of that is driven in the US, driven by financial stuff, it seems. But the UK is just an incredibly unhealthy country, just an unbelievably unhealthy country. And the US is an incredibly unhealthy country, which is why we're seeing worse things happening in the US and the UK. It's nothing to do with the virus, to do with the fact that people are just unbelievably unhealthy and don't even realise how unhealthy they are. The threat to you is that your lifestyle, the things that you're still doing that are harming you, that you know are harming you. That's the threat. Not coming to UK Fruit Fest or going to some event or going back to work or not wearing a mask. It's so for those of you coming to the Fruit Fest, I'll see you there. And for everyone else, I think things will be opening up pretty soon, and we'll all wonder what the hell happened.